Are you in, are you ever in that situation where you don't know what to say? You can't relate to somebody, or it's just uncomfortable. You just don't know what to say. That is definitely the case when you have something like, for instance, when I had my daughter Jamie in addiction for all of those 15 years, most of the people in my life didn't know what to say, right? How would they? I didn't have anybody else for most of those years that I knew that was going through the same thing. And so how could they relate, right? They had no idea. They didn't know what to say. When Jamie was shot the first time, yes, my daughter was shot twice. It's insane. She was shot when she was 18, and who could know what to say? I mean, who in the world has been through this? Nobody in my life still has been through this. And so people didn't know what to say. And then Jamie was murdered. And here it is almost 9.5 years later. We haven't even had a trial yet. And it's, for the most part, I do pretty well because I take my own advice. I've learned how to become strong and courageous and how to turn tragedy into triumph, how to find good. There's always something good that you can do with all the bad things that have happened in your life. And so for the most part, I do well, but it's kind of hurtful because once again, people don't know what to say. And I'm grateful and happy and really, truly glad that nobody in my life is in this situation, going through this horrific experience of, hoping for justice for their daughter who was brutally murdered. I mean, I'm glad nobody knows. They don't know what to say. We've all been in this situation. I mean, long before all hell broke loose in my life, I remember thinking, I don't want to call that person, I don't know what to say, when something bad was happening in their life or they'd lost somebody, and I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to talk about death. It was really uncomfortable for me. I didn't know what to say. And, Sean and I, especially my son, Sean and I have had a lot of discussions about this, we understand, no question that we completely understand that people don't know what to say. But here's what I've discovered. You can say that. So if you're a person who's going through grief and you're in that situation, I think we do have to give people a little grace and understand that we used to be them, right? We didn't used to understand either. But if you're somebody who's been in that situation where you're the one that's not saying anything because you don't know what to say, I've got the perfect thing for you to say. Ready? It's really simple. 6 words. I don't know what to say. That's something. And I truly mean that. I don't mean that tongue in cheek or anything. I really mean that, to me personally anyway, it's meaningful. It would be meaningful, I should say, if somebody would just say to me, I don't know what to say. I mean, I would take that to heart. I would empathize with them. Of course you don't know what to say, but that is saying something. So like I said, here I am 9.5 years later. And so it's, almost a quarter of a century here, right? Almost 25 years that my life has had, a tremendous amount of grief and loss and stress and disappointment. And just, some of it's just so unbelievable. Sometimes I'm still in shock that this is my life. But obviously I go on and I do other things. I'm actually working on a new brand right now that I'm so excited about that's for girls. But you know what? It is hurtful. It's hurtful that people in my own family, some of them have never said a word to me. I'm talking about, I have a sibling that has never said one single word to me since Jamie died. Asking me how I'm doing, nothing, zero. And I guess I don't sit around thinking about it, but if I do think about it, it's kind of hurtful. You could just say, how are you? You could say, I'm thinking about Jamie on her birthday today. You could say something, but saying nothing is not cool, right? And so I would say the vast majority of my family, and I have great people in my family, but 90% of them probably don't say anything, hardly ever. And it's just weird to me. But they don't know what to say. So I think if that's you and you've got people in your family like that, just understand that they don't know what to say. But here's a great opportunity. Here's an opportunity that we have. We can tell people, we can educate people, we can help them to understand that they could say, I don't know what to say. Because I think that's better than saying nothing.